Progress in the fish room. There are now LED lights over all the 30-gallon breeder aquariums, and I will show you a video about how we built those. Now that I can see what is going on in these tanks, I know that I need to get some tannin-releasing botanicals in with the species from soft blackwater habitats. This tank is fine, but this one is better. All those leaves, tree bark pieces, and seed pods make the environment a lot more natural. Let's talk about botanicals. I have a lot of tanks I'm going to need some leaf litter on the bottom for. What I use more than any other type of leaf is oak leaves, and I collect these each fall, and I collect several big bags of them so I can have them year round. I pick the leaves up when they're dry, and I pick them up from a clean place on top of a hill. I also like to use magnolia leaves and sea grape or bay grape leaves that I pick up down in Florida. I also pick them up when they're dry. Those leaves have the advantage that they're very thick and they last a long time in the aquarium. But I'm out of both of those, so I'm not going to be able to show you how I prepare those today. What I am going to show you today is a whole bunch of different botanicals and leaves that I got from Tannins Aquatics. Tannins Aquatics supplies all sorts of interesting plant matter to use as leaf litter on the bottom of an aquarium. The whole idea of this company is to create black water and make a more natural environment. I haven't used a lot of Tannins Aquatics products before. We're going to see how they do. I happen to buy a bunch of different things just to try them out. Let me show you what I got. When you order from Tannins Aquatics, you're going to get all kinds of cool stuff. Lots of it comes in this really cool kind of burlap bag. It's a neat piece of decoration. Not sure what I'll use it for after I pull the stuff out of it, but it is mixed for nice packaging. These are called Savu pods, S-A-V-U. And it's interesting because it's a hollow seed pod. I will admit I'm a little concerned about these seed pods because I don't know how the fish are going to react to them in such a small space. It would be a perfect environment for spawning a pistogramma, but I'm a little worried that the interior of that pod will go anaerobic because there's no water flow through it. Another thing that I am excited to get are these jungle pods. These are really big. These are going to be really good for spawning a pistogramma and other dwarf cichlids, even dwarf bettas, licorice grammies, all kinds of stuff will get up underneath these things. I kind of envision this sitting on the bottom of the tank, right like this. Sitting on the bottom of the tank, right like that. And then the fish kind of going up inside of it and spawning. I think that's going to be a really cool botanical to have. These are banana stems. They're supposed to release a lot of different types of tannins. I don't think it's going to be good for structure of any kind, but it will certainly look interesting on the bottom of the tank and provide tannins. These are cocoa curls, which is basically the husk from a coconut. I suspect that's going to take a little time to sink. This is catappa bark, the same tree that we get catappa leaf from, and I have some of that to show you as well. I'm assuming that this is going to release the same kind of tannins that you get from catappa leaf, probably in a more concentrated amounts. And this is another interesting little seed pod. I don't think it's going to be used for spawning much, but I think it will be good for different types of tannins and organics that get into the water. This is called a lampada pod. It's not very big, maybe a little bigger than a quarter. You can see it compared to my size of my finger. And then for leaves, these are loquat leaves, and I like them because they're thick. They're almost as thick as a magnolia leaf, and they're in various sizes. I also like the color. It's a little bit lighter in color than the oak leaves that I use and the magnolia leaves I use. So I think it's going to look pretty good on the bottom of the tank. These are guava leaves. They're small and they're thin. I also like the lighter color. I think they'll have nice contrast on the bottom of the aquarium. And it is also known to give out some pretty good tannins. And then here are catappa leaf. And if you get catappa leaf from Tannins Aquatics, you can get everything up from these really little ones all the way up to big catappa leaf. So those are the things that I picked up from Tannin Aquatics, but before I put them into the aquarium, they're going to take a little bit of preparation. So I want to show you how I do that. The botanicals I'm going to use require a little bit of preparation before I use them in the aquarium, especially the seed pods, which are going to be hard to sink unless they soak up some water first. I'm going to boil them. I got a pot of water going. I'm going to start with these big jungle pods. I'm just going to go ahead and put them down the water. They float. But over the next half an hour or so, they should soak up some water to sink a little bit. The reasons that I boil them is I want to make sure that, one, they've been purified, that I'm not putting any kind of bacteria or something in the tank that I don't want in there. Another reason is I want to get some of the tannin out of these pods. I don't need the water to be really black water dark. Even boiling the pods for 30 minutes is not going to release all the tannins they have into them. They're boiling. I'm going to use a spoon to get them down into the water. And they don't really need to boil this strongly. Matter of fact, I'm going to turn it down and let it just simmer. I'm going to turn these over so that that concave section is down. Now we're just going to let it cook like that for about 30 minutes. The other seed pod that I'm going to boil for about 30 minutes are the cebu pods. And I did something to these pods because I'm a little concerned about anaerobic conditions building up inside the pod, inside that really tight and closed space. So what I did, I'll show you, is I actually cut the end off of that cebu pod. So now you can see right down the middle of it. It's now more of a tunnel than it is a closed-in pod. I actually saved the little piece that I cut off because that's good botanicals too. Now I'll boil that and I'll put them into the aquariums. But by having the end cut off, water can pass through, and I'm not worried about there being an unoxygenated environment, and also fish can pass through. So hopefully no fish will get stuck in there. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in with those jungle pods. So the pods have been in the water now for about 30 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and pull them out with a slotted spoon. Take a look at them. Looks like some of them are already starting to sink. I'm just going to put them in this bin over here to cool. You can see how dark the water got. Boiling these pods produced a lot of tannin. There's still plenty of tannin in the pods though, so I'm not worried about cooking all of it out of the pods. I have another pot of water just starting to boil. I'm going to go ahead and start to cook off these other botanicals. They're smaller. First to go in are going to be the banana stems. Next to go in are the limpada pods. Here are the cocoa curls. Here is the catappa bark. I'll let that come to a boil, then I'll turn it down. And then I'll let these cook for about 30 minutes as well. It's pretty amazing how much tannin comes out of these botanicals. And that water is as dark as coffee. Some people actually like to use this tea as kind of like a black water extract. Now I don't really have a problem with that. It's not something that I would use a lot of, so I'm not going to save it here. So now I've got quite the pile of botanicals. Seed pods and banana stems and cocoa curls. These are actually pretty soft. These might sink right away. So all I have to do now is the leaves. And the leaves I do a little bit differently.